What's going on, guys? Welcome back to B-Ball TV. Since a month ago, the talks of the NBA surrounded Kyrie Irving and his request to get traded by the Cleveland Cavaliers. It would end a 6-year tenure with the team who drafted him in 2011. Teams he prefers are the New York Knicks, Minnesota Timberwolves, Miami Heat, and the San Antonio Spurs. It's a list of young or established teams with upside or room for him to be the leader. Irving, however, is willing to commit long-term with only the Spurs. It's a head-turner, since superstar players typically haven't chosen this organization as a destination spot. That arguably somewhat changed in recent years, with the acquisition of LaMarcus Aldridge in 2015 free agency. It wouldn't be a surprise to see the Spurs at least check in on the Irving rumors, along with about 12 other teams. Even if there's little to no chance of it happening, it would be a due diligence call. With San Antonio, though, the chances of them being able to acquire Irving seem unlikely. For a deal to happen, a number of things would have to go in the franchise's favor. From having Cleveland's interest in its younger players to valuing some of San Antonio's players in a certain way, it makes for a not so guaranteed situation for Irving to get his desired landing spot, which could change his list of destinations and maybe return to Cleveland if things don't work out like he thought in trade discussions. There's plenty of reasons to doubt Irving to the Spurs deal. Let's look at why expectations should be tempered. The first reason is LaMarcus Aldridge isn't appealing enough to lead a deal. If the San Antonio Spurs try to make a move for Kyrie Irving, they have young pieces to potentially offer. They may not be enough for trade framework, though, which brings in LaMarcus Aldridge's name. He might be the organization's best trade asset. Aldridge could still be young enough to be viewed as a piece for trade. That goes beyond an Irving deal, but in this case, it doesn't apply for this possible deal with the Cavaliers. For the Cavs to take on Aldridge as the main piece of a trade, it would potentially mean there was trouble finding something appealing enough elsewhere. He's essentially on a one-year deal for $21 million. With a player option, one would think he declines to get a last big contract. That makes the primary piece for Cleveland a 32-year-old rental, let alone at a position the Cavs don't need, with Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Channing Frye, and Jeff Green all able to play the 4 spot. Outside of Aldridge, unless the Spurs feel Kawhi Leonard is worth moving for Irving, there's no other top-tier piece to lead a deal. That should shrink San Antonio's chances of making this trade. The second reason is because it leaves the Spurs with a big man problem. Let's say the San Antonio Spurs make the Irving trade and Aldridge is included, but with no power forward or center returning to the Alamo City. That presents a problem for the starting front court. If the Spurs lost Aldridge to the Cavaliers, they would be left with Pau Gasol and Joffrey Laverne as the only players that exclusively play the big man spot. While Gasol can man a spot, Laverne has little starting experience, so to further his development before reaching that status, he will be best used off the bench. Behind them, the Spurs could use David Bertans as a backup at 4. With a very limited game, being a shooting big man, that doesn't represent much of a body for the team to put under the basket. If anything, the Spurs would have to turn to the open market. David Lee is still available, but at this stage of his career, he's a backup. The Spurs can always do a rotation at one of the big man spots, but that still leaves them relying on a 37-year-old Gasol as the leader of the Giants. If his decline continues next season, then the team may search for additional help before the NBA trade deadline. The third reason is because the Spurs don't have enough assets outside of Aldridge for a deal to happen. This goes back to the LaMarcus Aldridge headline narrative. If the San Antonio Spurs attempted to have him lead the way in a deal and got turned down, there's just not much outside of him to make it work for Kyrie Irving, even with as many as 3 or 4 pieces. Regarding draft picks, the Spurs haven't picked outside of the 20s since the 1997 NBA draft, where they selected Tim Duncan. It's been a consistent ride since for the organization, as their regular season and postseason success placed them near the bottom of the past 20-plus selection shows. So, any pick they send to the Cavs would be very low, which is a spot that doesn't often produce quality players. For the pieces already in place, There are players like DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and Kyle Anderson. All have upside, but none have consistent starting experience on the NBA court. The Cavs will be taking a gamble on any of them, maybe all three in a deal. On paper, that doesn't look like enough to pry Irving away, along with a draft pick. None of these pieces can land a deal either. Leave your opinions down in the comments section below, and if you guys enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it to your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And until next time, peace out guys.